You were selected to be a part of the premier group of Mariachi Spectacular All-Stars because you are considered a torch carrier of the mariachi flame. What does that mean to you?
Being considered that, well, I don't really think about that too much, you know, but it's an honor to be here and to work with these, I call them young musicians because I still see them as very, very young, you know, and they're so talented, you know, and it's, you know, the cream of the crop, you know, of all these years that we've been here with Mariachi Spectacular. It's truly an honor and a privilege.
Tell us about your first experience with mariachi music. Was it part of your family, something you discovered on your own? Did you learn in school? Can you share?
First experience with mariachi music, man, maybe I was like 3 or something, that I do remember that I sort of started singing as a kid, and sometimes when my mother was upset with my father, she would put certain records on and she would tell me, "Mijo, aprendete esa canción, learn that song," and it would be a song sort of so I could sing for my dad at night that would sort of give him the message of what my mother wanted to tell him, because my mom didn't have the guts to tell him. But yeah, when she was upset, it was like, "Mira lo que se aprendió, Jose," and I would sing the song to my dad. But yeah, since I was 3, I sang as a child. So did my brother Jesus. My brother Pedro also sang as a little kid.
Was it at this time that you became passionate about the music, or did it come a little later on?
No, I mean, I think the passion is sort of in our DNA, you know, it's been around in our family for many generations. Actually, I just found out, they sent me some documents that we've been looking for, and we just found out, you know, from Mexico. We go back like 7 generations, and it's crazy because we got all the documents, like their birth certificates of my great-great-great-grandfather Pedro, and one of his sons, it says, they call them filarmónicos when they're musicians, said, you know, his marriage license, you know, his certificate says, I forget what his name was, one of his sons, he had 17 kids. One of his sons, it says filarmónico, it was like he was a musician, so he goes back, way, way, way back. And I guess his father, Basilio, who was born like maybe like 1820, probably was a musician also, so it goes back a long, long way. It's in the DNA. I can't really say, okay, I learned here or I learned there. It's just, everybody's a musician in my family.
How important do you think music exposure is to young children, and why?
Music is very important, I think, in the life of every young child, because it's something that neutralizes their spirit, not only them but also the listeners. You know, so when you teach them, especially the mariachi, you know, to work as a team, to learn, to concentrate. You know, reading music, you know, it's math. You know, it just makes it so much better. I mean, I've seen it really change a lot of lives. You know, through, wow, I've been sort of teaching or trying to push the music education for a lot of years, and I've seen so many changes in school districts throughout the country, and their grades go up. I mean, just incredible. I could just tell you one story. In Nashville, we started, I think, in 1 high school and 2 middle schools. It must have been about maybe 8 years ago. And Latino, the graduation rate was 42% in the high schools. And after 3 years of mariachi, it went up to 93%. It helped them stay in school. Why? The parents got more involved with them in school because they were playing the music that they know, that they connected with. So they were involved in fundraisers. Everything just shifted and changed. So music is very important in the life of a young person, of a child, you know.
Have you personally witnessed any positive changes in any students you've taught?
Well, I just gave you that example about Nashville, but I could give you another example. When we started with my foundation, I think it was in 1991, in the Mariachi Heritage Society in Los Angeles, one of the first schools that we started teaching at was my elementary school when I took band when I was in 4th grade, and I went and started a little mariachi program there. So we went there, and there was this little boy that was very, very quiet, and after about maybe a month, the principal sent me a letter thanking me, and I started reading the letter, and the kid was very, very, very quiet. Like we're talking about like a 7-year-old, okay? And he told me the background of the kid. You know, he was an immigrant that was they sent him to live with his grandparents because he experienced his father killing his mother in Mexico. And he was traumatized. They sent him with the grandparents. And he was just quiet. He wouldn't talk. Once he went into the mariachi, got a guitar, changed his whole life. I mean, he was friends with all the kids that were in the mariachi program. I mean, I've seen it, the mariachi I think, has changed so many lives, these young children, just sometimes they're tragic stories. Sometimes there are other stories that are really fun and you say, okay, this kid is never going to. And then all of a sudden they're like great musicians, great singers. It's really, really nice to see.
Who do you consider to have the most influence in your musical career? Now, is that the same person that continues to inspire you today?
Well, I think the person who has had the biggest influence, I think, in my music career has been my father, definitely. And I could also say my older brothers, because even though I learned in the school band since 4th grade, I mean, already I think I started at 10, and at 15 I started playing sort of professionally with my brothers. But yeah, I'm really blessed to be able to hear like the records and the music that my brothers and my father listened to, so they could be inspired, right? So the road was already paid for me in a way. So they've always been my best influences. Nowadays, I mean, as far as writing, arranging, and composing, yeah, then we go into, some of the great arranger composers of the genre of mariachi. You could go back, and a lot of times I'll hear Mahler, I'll hear Debussy, I'll hear, Rimsky-Korsakov. I hear a lot of music. So,
as a role model for younger generations, how do you hope to inspire this generation in the way musicians who are such a major part of the Mariachi Spectacular of Albuquerque may have inspired you?
The inspiration that came from musicians, the generation before me, was different than what it is now. Now we do it through music education and examples also. Before it was more of a oral kind of thing. They were like very short then. If they see, they didn't have a lot of patience. If they see that you had talent, they'll go, okay, it's to see. If they see like you don't pick up quick, they don't hire you again. No, I said no. It was like that. Either you had it or you didn't have it. Nowadays, because of education, and you have to have patience. And you say, what, this kid has potential. If he gets his stuff together and his parents are backing him up, and you help him and you mentor him, and sometimes they turn around, and these kids turn around. They become better musicians than the one that have the natural talent. It's incredible to see.
Can you tell us, how did you select your instrument?
I selected my instrument, which is my main instrument, the trumpet. I think the inspiration came from seeing my father, seeing my 2 older brothers playing on TV from Mexico City. I think it was in 1964, 65, and they were accompanying Jose Alfredo Hernandez. And my dad was like, we're so proud. I'd see him, I was like 7, and I'd see how proud he would see, he would smile. And my brothers at that time were Mariachi Vargas, and so he did a lot of TV shows. And as soon as I turned 10, I asked my dad, can you rent a trumpet for me? I want to play trumpet, because my brothers play trumpet. And my dad never told me, you're going to be a mariachi. It always came from us. We wanted to be, musicians, mariachi musicians.
Where do you see yourself as it relates to mariachi in 20 years?
In 20 years, where do I see myself? I think still being involved, writing music, not playing anymore. But I've done so much stuff already, as far as performance. And to me, challenges are what really get me excited. And to find challenges is really difficult. To do something, okay, what could I do that I haven't done before? So I'm always sort of searching. But, after a while, you get older and you say, okay, I'm going to dedicate more time, to my new granddaughter. I have a granddaughter. And priorities sort of shift a little bit. But as far as writing and recording the music, I'll always be doing that. I have some projects that I want to do, that I still want to do, that are pretty cool, and that involve other musicians, other groups coming together and uniting more. Because, when have you ever seen, for instance, an album of 2, 3, 4 mariachis that are very well known do an album together in collaboration? Nobody ever did it. They've never done it because there was always that competitiveness. Oh, I want to do this or that. And I think that's sort of silly in a way, so I think leaving an example and saying, hey, we're all pushing this music because we want it to be respected and well known and to help kids get through college and maybe not all the time become professional mariachis, but at least they have the music and the love for their culture, in their spirit, in their heart.
What piece of advice would you share with young people who want to start a career in mariachi?
Well, I think the best advice that I could give them is that if they want to start a career in mariachi, that they have to be 100% dedicated. It's very difficult to combine careers, because in mariachi you have to live it, you have to breathe it, you have to wake up in the morning, listen to it, you have to go to sleep listening to it. You cannot be distracted. It's really hard. And yet, if you have a career, you have also commitments, you have priorities there, and it's your living too. But the kids, if they could be involved in some kind of music education and also do mariachi, that's like the best combination that I could advise. But to do something else and you say, I want to do mariachi as a hobby, that's also great. But sometimes it's really hard, for a good group to say, okay, I want you to be here, and yet you're only dedicated 20% to the group. It's very difficult. So to be a professional mariachi is really hard. Sometimes it's not all about money. Sometimes you're okay. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make maybe half of what I could make if I have a career and I have benefits and I have all this. It's definitely an art. You do it for the love of the art.
How has mariachi impacted your life?
Again, in every way. I can't. There's never been a plan B for me. I can't even think of anything that I would be doing if I didn't have mariachi in my life, or music in general. I tell people, music is the closest thing to God, I think, because, for a sad situation, there's always a song that lifts you up. For a happy situation, there's always a song that, that you could celebrate with. And, it's just it's like praying in a way, it's very spiritual. So yeah, music is very important in my life. It's a big part of my life, yeah.
Maestro, tell us about your mariachi journey. Did you have a specific dream that drove you all these years to get to where you are today?
My mariachi journey, it's always been about family for me. I think I was the first one of all the generations that really studied more in depth, the music education or composition, orchestration, and instrumentation and arranging. So I had to commit to certain classes, to school, and it was very hard to mix it with mariachi because I was playing with my family 6 nights a week at a family-owned restaurant. So it was hard. It was hard, but I always thought that I was going to stay with the family group. I had to leave the family because there wasn't too much flexibility on their behalf, on some of their behalves, of me taking time off to go to school. They said, "What for? You're going to be a mariachi. Why do you want to go to school for? You're already playing well. No, I want to do other things to try to raise up the standard, on the level of what we've been doing." So I had to get out at 21. I think it was 21 when I got out and I formed Mariachi Sol de Mexico, and it was because of that. And once I got a taste of writing my own arrangements and conducting, directing my own group, it was very hard to go back to another group, and conform to the rules of another director, So I guess that's part of my journey.
You've already touched on how mariachi music has impacted youth, but how do you think it has impacted adults and communities in general around the globe?
Oh, mariachi has impacted people around the world in many different ways. Mind you, sometimes we play for audiences that don't know a word of Spanish. I could give you one example. I think in 2003 or 2002, we got invited to a festival called the April Spring Festival in North Korea, in Pyongyang. And I was very hesitant. North Korea that's like super communist. Who's going with us? Well, you'd go, with the permission of the State Department. It's a cultural thing. 42 countries go. Their traditional music is representative of every country. So you guys would be representing Mexico. Okay, so we went with a couple of Korean lawyers and somebody from Philip Morris and from big companies. So we ended up going, and when they heard all the groups, they asked us to close every show because they were like, okay, these guys are playing all these notes and they're not reading music and they're singing. And and I took a ballet folklorico with us. It was pretty cool. So we closed every night, 4 nights, and it was crazy because every night that we would be interviewed, they would say, "Why is it that your music, like we could feel your music. We don't understand what you're saying, but the way that you're saying, the way that you're phrasing, and the sort of like that teardrop in the voice, we feel it. Why is it?" I goes, "Because it's music that's very comes from a humble beginning. It's from the heart, and music transcends everything. It transcends language. That's why the music is so powerful, especially mariachi music."
As the music director for this premiere performance of the Mariachi All-Stars, how were you able to manage time-wise, and how are you directing these members, ranging from living in New York to Chihuahua to California?
Well, to make the time to come and to be able to direct this group of talented musicians, the Mariachi All-Stars here in Albuquerque, it wasn't really difficult for me. I mean, honestly, it's then once I make the commitment, I try to stick by it, and to me, it's fun. It's fun. It's therapy for me. So I always try to put myself in a good position where I do things that make me feel good, that I share music with other people, and I give my input, when it's needed, when I feel like, okay, maybe this thing could sound a little bit better here, and tweak little things here and there. But it's awesome to see these educators and these great talented musicians come together, from all over the United States and come celebrate the beauty of mariachi here in Mariachi Spectacular.
Last question. Now that you've gotten a chance to work with the Mariachi All-Stars, what do you think, or what is your vision for them as the torch carriers of mariachi into the future?
Well, now that I've rehearsed and worked with the Mariachi All-Stars, nothing but good feelings. I mean, mariachi is really in good hands. These young musicians, they have a love and respect for the music. And I know that they're touching a lot of kids, in every part of the United States where they're at, they have great, students. They have, as far as playing professionally, I know that they have great compañeros. And when they come together, hopefully it's a beginning of a tradition where they can come together and be able to perform every year for Mariachi Spectacular, because definitely it's a great example to other festivals, other conferences, and I'm all for it. Hola, soy José Hernández, soy director del Mariachi Sol de México, y es un honor estar aquí en Mariachi Spectacular sirviendo como director de los Mariachi All Stars aquí en Albuquerque, Nuevo México.